What are adverbs of frequency? They are words that tell us how often something happens. Think of them as your trusty sidekicks for talking about routines, habits, and everything in between. These adverbs help paint a clearer picture in your listener's mind. Instead of just saying, "I eat breakfast," you can say, "I always eat breakfast," to show that it's a regular part of your day. Adverbs of frequency add a layer of detail to your sentences, making your speech and writing more precise and engaging. Whether you're chatting with a friend or writing an important email, these adverbs are valuable tools for effective communication. They are essential building blocks for anyone learning English, allowing you to express yourself with greater clarity and confidence. Let's meet some of the most common adverbs of frequency. We can divide them into two main groups, those indicating high frequency and those indicating low frequency. This means something happens 100% of the time without fail. For example, the sun always rises in the east. This indicates something happens most of the time, but not always. For instance, I usually have coffee in the morning. This suggests something happens frequently, but not necessarily as regularly as usually. For example, we often go for walks in the park. This means something happens occasionally, but not on a fixed schedule. An example is, I sometimes eat pizza on Fridays. This indicates something rarely happens. For example, it seldom rains in the desert. Similar to seldom, this means something happens very infrequently. For instance, I rarely eat fast food. This suggests something almost never happens. For example, he hardly ever misses a day of work. This means something never happens at all. An example is, I never eat durian fruit. By familiarizing yourself with these common adverbs, you'll be well on your way to using them accurately and confidently in your everyday conversations. Now that we know some common adverbs of frequency, let's talk about where they fit into sentences. In simple tenses, adverbs of frequency usually go before the main verb. For example, she always arrives on time. They rarely travel by plane. In compound tenses, like present perfect or past continuous, adverbs of frequency typically go after the auxiliary verb or the helping verb. For example, I have never been to Europe. He is usually playing video games after school. The verb to be is a bit of an exception. With the verb to be, the adverb of frequency comes after the verb. For example, she is always happy. They are rarely late. Section 4. Tricky situations, special cases and exceptions. While the rules above cover most situations, there are a few exceptions and special cases to keep in mind. Beginning of a sentence. For emphasis, you can sometimes place adverbs of frequency at the beginning of a sentence. For example, occasionally I like to eat dessert before dinner, or frequently we go hiking on weekends. Negative sentences. In negative sentences, adverbs of frequency often come after the negative word not. For example, I don't always eat breakfast, or they haven't always lived in this city. Questions. In questions, adverbs of frequency usually come after the subject. For example, do you often go to the cinema, or have you ever tried sushi? Section 5. Mastering fluency adverbs in everyday speech. Congratulations, you're well on your way to mastering adverbs of frequency. Now it's time to put your knowledge into practice and start using them confidently in everyday conversations. Here are a few tips to help you. Start simple. Begin by incorporating common adverbs like always, usually often, and sometimes into your sentences. Listen and observe. Pay attention to how native speakers use adverbs of frequency in their speech. Practice makes perfect. The more you use adverbs of frequency, the more natural they will become. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try using different adverbs to see how they change the meaning of your sentences. Remember, fluency comes with practice. By consistently using adverbs of frequency in your speaking and writing, you'll soon be communicating with greater precision and confidence. Section 6. Wrapping up, the power of precise language. Mastering adverbs of frequency might seem like a small step, but it can have a big impact on your communication skills. By using these adverbs accurately, you can express yourself clearly, letting others know exactly how often something happens, avoiding any misunderstandings. You'll sound more natural, speaking and writing in a way that sounds more fluent and native-like. And you'll add detail and interest, making your sentences more engaging and informative. So, keep practicing, keep experimenting, and keep enjoying the journey of learning English.